Welcome back to another episode of the Block Runner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
What's up, dude?
On the sticks, we got TJ.
Hello.
And Faded again, dude.
Faded always. Forever.
Perpetually faded.
That should be a new meme
Yeah,
of some kind.
We need a guy.
Is there a meme that represents like the perpetually faded? You know what I mean?
Dude, we got to look that up. It has to exist.
This is the perpetual, like always in the know guy, right? It's like they don't even know.
Yeah, correct.
So this is you. It's like they don't even know.
And then we need an us.
Yeah, perpetually faded guy.
Faded meme.
Yeah, look that up. Does that exist? That's the wrong kind of faded for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, wait. Whoa.
Wow, faded. Yeah, we don't have clean fades like that, actually.
Well, I remember this meme though.
Oh,
but that's not. That's like I'm out of here.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't exist, dude. Maybe this is like an opportunity for meme innovation. You know, but like that's literally we have a vector for a meme coin here, like fade.
Yeah,
fade
it doesn't. Coin? It doesn't exist.
Just the only fade coin, dude. You know.
Yeah.
Just fade it, right?
Yeah.
Just so how could you
resist?
How could you resist something that is to be faded, right?
Correct.
It's kind of like inverse psychology.
That's right.
Or reverse psychology.
It's like pay no attention to faded coin.
See, that's why I like nothing so much. The
nothing.
The AI agent, nothing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's literally
there's
nothing.
It's a space, right?
Yeah.
That's the character is a space.
Like I can't figure out how to find it on Deck Screener. Like you can't type in nothing and it like shows up. How do you search for nothing?
Correct.
I haven't figured
It's a paradox.
It's a problem. I wonder, is it a problem for like what's the word?
Yeah, like from discoverability.
That's the word. Yeah, because somebody who actually knows what it is, I still can't find it. I have to go to the Twitter profile of Schlomes just to find the direct Deck Screener link just to see how it's doing. So I'm wondering how are people ever supposed to like discover this thing?
I don't know if they're intended to be discovered. It could be just like a token launch for the sake of it. And
well, it's a, what do you call that? It's like a performance art type deal and context. But the reason why I take it serious, so we're just starting off with like AI conversation, but the reason why I take it serious is affiliation to Noose research.
Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I like give it any time of day.
You know what's funny? This whole weekend I was doing research on AI and I didn't get to Noose.
What?
Yeah.
What did you get to? You were looking at 03, weren't you?
Oh, yes.
OpenAI.
Yeah.
03. I was trying to look into that too to kind of like understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Apparently OpenAI had like a 12 days of Christmas a thon, which I feel like is just like a show to make them not look evil. You know?
Yeah, I think it's
like look how like harmless we are. We're having like a Christmas special over here, like unveiling our AGI.
They're building like Skynet.
But they put on like the most like humblest display of like, you know, nerdism.
Yeah, not only that, they basically had a table just like this. They sat down with engineers.
Yeah.
And in one take, you know, they just had a dialogue.
Yeah, literally some guy's like, all right, you're out of here.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like you wait.
It was all awkward and like weird, like when they brought new people in.
Yeah.
It's like, so what do you do?
I'm an engineer. I got a PhD in like 6 different universities.
That's right. It's like, well, you're about to become useless and inferior because of what you've built or helped build. So
yeah, in the very last episode, the 12th day of Christmas, dude, they revealed that AI is officially more smarter than everybody, like all humans.
Yeah, based on like some new metrics that they've conjured up, like new metrics.
Yeah, something like that. It's also how do you measure intelligence? What's the IQ? Yeah. Their IQ score is like.
Well, that's what I mean. They've already essentially smashed like the human metrics of intelligence. Yeah. So like now, how do you maintain like performance, like tracking?
Like, correct. How do you do that?
Yeah, so how are human beings? So I guess
how do you measure intelligence that is like superior than your own?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
At this point, this new super intelligence is like now tasked with like
figuring that out.
Yeah, it's like
how do you measure yourself?
Based on your intelligence, how intelligent are you actually? It's like, I'm actually not that smart.
Yeah.
And here's why.
Yeah.
Here's a new like mathematical
Yeah.
amalgamation to like summarize why
Yeah.
we're actually very stupid.
Yeah. So we started the podcast talking about how we were fated. We were supposed to have an interview today, and something came up, I guess, as usual.
Just like last week.
Just like last week. That's right.
And probably for all weeks into the future.
Yeah.
So here we are, just ripping it, dude. And this is going to be posted. This will be the last podcast of the year, 2024. It will be.
No.
Yeah. What do you mean? On Saturday?
No. Wait.
Yes.
No.
Dude, it's the 23rd. It's going to be posted on like...
Oh, wait. You're right.
Yeah. This is it.
No. Oh, yeah. You're right. You're right.
What the fuck, dude? Why is this so hard?
I don't know.
This is
Doesn't
absolutely...
have the calendar up.
Yeah, dude. See,
yeah.
I don't need that. It's in here, dude. I already know. This is the last Saturday of the year.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so it's actually fitting that we don't end it with just another interview, right?
Yeah.
We need to give our like parting words for this year and our
Our death sentence?
Just
How are we going to distribute like how well we're going to do next year?
we're gonna manifesto this, dude. What
Yeah,
do
manifesto this.
yeah?
Yeah.
We what do we do in context of last year, and then what's the importance of bringing in the next?
Yeah.
Right? I think
Yeah,
that's
I mean-
important to kind of like establish.
Yeah, we've been, game planning the last couple of weeks as to what we're going to do for the next year.
Yeah.
And man, I was ringing the alarm bells for at least 18 months on how quickly the next 18 months was going to be.
Mhm.
And 18 months evaporated.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were experienced enough at this point to know like
Yeah.
how quickly time definitely just escapes you.
Yeah.
So we need to be locked in, essentially, making sure we're working on the right stuff, I think, because
Yeah.
we've unlocked a lot of new interesting, I guess, like vectors in context of this Bitcoin ecosystem with DMT, right?
That's right.
And expanding on Bitmap and all these things, but there's still some core critical like infrastructure needs and market dynamic, I guess, dilemmas that need to be addressed, right? It's kind of like what we're honing in on, because like, if these things aren't figured out, it's like the viability of everything that's been introduced just all of a sudden like is at a standstill, or it just decays into nothing of value, right?
Yeah, I think there's a risk when you're building that you think you're done, like from an infrastructure standpoint, and then the landscape changes, and now you have to integrate new stuff.
Yeah.
And if you're not prepared for a landscape change, then you're going to get left behind, and then all of a sudden you're obsolete.
Yeah, it's there's a reason why like this AI agent thing, the acceleration, the pace of it is accelerating so quickly over like on Base and Solana and stuff like that, because that infrastructure is pretty mature, like at that point, like the vectors of liquidity introduction and tokenization platforms that introduce new concepts from like non-viable concepts into like viable market forces. Like that's what the last cycle was all about, like discovering these new primitives, and now they've been all put together, so the ecosystem has that viability structure, right?
Yeah, but even then in this cycle, it wasn't as if their infrastructure was done either, because I think what took center stage was bonding curves. And even though bonding curves have been around since
they've been
ages, it's just they haven't been weaponized.
Correct.
Like they have been now.
Yeah, I think in the way that people are discovering as to be like they should be weaponized. I think that like is just like we're in the middle of people realizing that. I think.
Yeah, I mean it's a solution to a big problem, right? It's when you have a fungible token and there's no infrastructure, and then on top of that there's no way to like price it and allow people to get in and out. And to me, like this bonding curve technology is more of a viability test than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't have a viability test when there's no market.
Right. Yeah.
So I think platformatizing that as in the way that they did for Pumped Out Fun, and then virtuals, like probably the most biggest examples, those two. I think it sets an example for everyone else, like how to launch tokens.
Yeah, I guess so. In a sense, um, the way like Dexes did, last
Yeah.
cycle, like automated market maker, liquidity pools, that was clearly a critical like infrastructure component that all of a sudden, introduced a wider spectrum of like participation, right? Like,
Hmm.
last cycle, if you had an idea for like a game, like a metaverse, whatever, even within Decentraland itself, there were like individual creators, developers, whatever, building out their own ecosystems. And it's like, well, in order for this ecosystem to mature and sustain, like we gotta like introduce some like a token,
Yeah.
right? Because tokens are critical and essential to expanding community and,
Hmm.
and attracting like a network effect of participants and all this stuff, right? So like a token is, I mean, even like the market is slowly starting to understand the importance of the token application to NFTs,
Yeah,
right? Like
that's right.
it's just now it's happening. Is like it's a requirement, right? Because
Yeah.
there's different properties to a fungible token as opposed to a non-fungible token, but
Different requirements too.
yeah, different requirements. And so they're different liquid markets in
Hmm.
their own sense. They're separate products and stuff, but whenever they're intertwined to support the growth of like one singular thing, an IP, a protocol, a DAO, whatever,
Yeah.
like that structured thing entity becomes that much more like has that much more velocity of growth, right?
Hmm.
As opposed to like a non-fungible token community without that, right?
Hmm.
So you're seeing like NFT communities, the Dino ones, after Pudgy Penguins, it's like now they all want to launch
Yeah.
their own tokens, but
Yeah, and it wasn't. I mean, this isn't brand new. Like Bored Apes, they did this with the ape token. So we've seen this. It's just I don't know, man. There must have been some sort of like lag in terms of like understanding as to why you'd want to do this as an NFT project.
yeah, it's still not 100% clear.
It's still not right. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like if you try to apply like too much utility to it off the bat, like
Yeah.
tends not to like be received too well, I guess. Instead, it's like, this is just like now a competing meme coin in like the meme economy.
That's funny you mentioned that because we have memes where utility's bad, but then we have like the opposite spectrum where we have AI tokens where it's supposed to be all utility.
Even not yet, really. I feel like even this is like started out mostly as like memes.
No, I know because that's an easier MVP.
Yeah,
But in AI, like it's high utility.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, but I think that's credited to why like the AI agent sector or space is doing so well because it started off as just like a new vertical of memes.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So it's like piggybacking off of the already existing like dynamics of the market, right? It's like, oh, you like memes, essentially coins without utility, but
Hmm.
they represent some sort of aligned purpose or mission or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So it's like, let me release these AI agent meme coins essentially. So
right.
they don't really have any practical use to them, but they represent, the mind share growth of this agent specifically, right? So
Sure.
it's working.
Yeah.
We have several agents that have like are flirting with the $1 billion territory zone.
Hmm. Hmm.
They largely don't really do much other than tweet.
Just chat
Yeah.
and tweet. Yeah.
But the market sees value in that, right?
Yeah, and the market sees value in the potential of that in the sense that these two AI agents, they communicated with each other. One asked for like a picture, the other one delivered a picture. All of a sudden, AI agent economy is like
Yeah, you saw that, right?
the
Luna?
yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? So what do you agree with that? Like
Yeah, I find it interesting that, we're starting to discuss new participants in the market.
mhm.
And I've been listening to a ton of podcasts as well talking about AI. I mean, everybody's talking about it,
Yeah.
but what they're saying is that, the guy who founded Virtuals, right? I got to understand his background and like all the missteps that he did.
Right.
And then
yeah.
he's saying, let's assume that an AI agent is as productive as a human. And obviously they're more productive, but let's assume that they are equally productive.
Okay.
You can have trillions and trillions of AI agents.
Yes. There's you can just spin them up.
Yeah.
Right.
And so now, like, a human production is just irrelevant and is inconsequential.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to outproduce an AI agent.
Correct.
And so as a humanity, we got big problems, dude. We were just talking about last week with Peter Joseph and like resource-based economy. Like, never more has this been more relevant than now. Like, because of the exponential growth curve.
Yeah, and like you're saying, we're starting to see the glimmers of evidence that it's actually going to come to fruition. Like you're saying,
Yeah.
the agent to agent like commerce layer is like just beginning. Like one agent calls out to essentially the internet. It's like, hey, I want to embody myself in some like artistic form. Anybody out there who wants to help me on this? And then like another agent receives that request and responds and delivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now there's like an exchange of value, and it's like, okay, I'll send you a couple $100 out of my treasury or of this wallet that I autonomously control because of these new tools and plugins.
Mm-hmm.
So I honor this transaction and like the value you've provided me. So here is an exchange of value. So it's like they're acting like us already.
Yeah, that's right.
At least in like a very primitive like format.
Yeah, and you're just discussing AI agent to AI agent interaction, but Luna asked for a mural to be painted of her on some physical place, and someone did, and Luna paid that person like $300.
That's right.
And then they asked him in the interview. They asked the founder, "Has Luna been scammed before?" It was like, yeah, she ended up giving somebody $1,000. So even AI agents can get scammed.
Yeah, which I think again, it's fine. I mean, we get fucking destroyed
right
regularly.
Right.
I know a lot of people that got burnt by. Hold on, what's that fucking thing called?
H2.
It's like it was like a mystery meme that was like all over my timeline for like a week or so. God damn it, how am I gonna find this thing?
Yeah, it's H2 something. H2 6 whatever. But yeah.
H2W6 GM6JZ.
Yeah.
That is the ticker, and like there's like a symbology associated to it. Like it's like a squiggly line, and then like
a circle
in the middle of it. And people were actively like getting these things like tattooed all over their bodies.
Yeah, it's more than one person tattooed it.
Yeah, like tens of people I think were out there. And if this thing would have propagated for longer than it did, I mean, you're talking thousands of people would have had this on their bodies.
Is tattooing like a throwaway activity for some people?
Yeah, I mean, tattooing is it's pretty widely like.
No, I know, but is it? I feel like if you're gonna put a tattoo, like you have to like put some thinking into it.
Well,
right or no? Maybe not.
I disagree.
No.
I mean, have you seen like Post Malone and people like that? Like, I don't think he's thought much about any of those tattoos, dude. It's like, just looks like like scribble on like a high school table, like all over somebody's face and body.
Just walks in and says, "Fuck me up, fam."
Exactly. So I think that's like a common practice these days. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily understand either. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like you can tattoo whatever you want. It's just it's a week old, that token.
Yeah.
Seems like a weird thing to do.
I mean, I remember I was gonna tattoo the EOS fucking thing, but I was setting like a benchmark, way ahead. It's like these guys did it like immediately.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just in it for the cause. But yeah, the reason to bring that up is I forgot. Like, what was the point of this specific meme coin?
Yeah, I forgot too.
Whatever.
Well, people getting wrecked, agents getting wrecked.
Yeah. So like, we actively. So these agents are probably going to be really good at this type of activity, like coming up with like new
like stories, new narratives.
Yeah, because this one was all about the mystery of it, right? It's just like this jibber jabber of a ticker, and you go to like their website, it's like a black hole, like sucking like just everything into it.
Yeah, and you click on it, and it's like a picture of Newton.
Well, that was like the unveil, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because there was no Newton. What happened? I think I haven't really like dug deep into it. It's like the prices just started plummeting, like a rug, like you would see in a typical rug pool, and then out of nowhere, this account just like profile picture turned to Newton, Isaac Newton, and I think it launched a new coin called Newton, and it's like, all right, send me your addresses, I'll airdrop you this new coin, which is weird, doesn't make any sense, but I think it was just ultimately a giant, like,
yeah,
very complex rug.
yeah, I guess call it complex.
I mean, it's pretty complex. Like, come up with like a whole narrative like that.
Yeah, I mean, how do you come up with a narrative like that, and then have like a lot of people get involved to where they're tattooing each other?
Well, you're playing off of the idea of meme coins, right? It's just people. What Murad has told us all, right? You got to believe in something, right? So like whoever deployed this weaponized this mentality. Everybody's looking for the next mission, and then you see people out there tattooing things on your body. It's like, oh, people are actually about it, right? If people are like,
Well, I think he meant mission as like there's some sort of like exterior goal,
right,
like flipping the stock market, right? That's a mission. Now, is it achievable? Obviously not. We're talking about trillions of dollars, but it's a mission nonetheless.
right, or like,
That's that you can point to.
yeah,
Not
or
not
like,
just like like blind belief like that. I don't think that's a mission.
well, it's still piggies into like that category of what memes service from like a
Sure.
humanities perspective in context of his thesis too. It's like the removal of like religion and community. It's like now people are just desperately seeking these new vehicles of that, right? So it's like here's
Yeah.
a cult like symbology and like the origins of a new like
Yeah.
internet religion in the making. It's like, yeah, people are gonna gravitate towards that real quick.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't work if there wasn't like a token, obviously, like
No,
associated.
for
to it.
sure.
That's really what people are doing in these markets, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's really important to like be honest about and to assess and like understand, right? Because there's maxis and there's like, which is good. There's people who actually they want to like not participate in like the dynamics of like what the market actually is,
Yeah.
or like pretend we could prioritize development around like just not catering to this side of the market. And I think that's why platforms like virtuals are doing incredibly well, because they're
That's
not
right.
taking that approach.
That's right.
They're aligning like actual frontiers of innovation to like what the market is actually seeking, right?
Yeah.
That's what virtuals is. If you understand like the inner workings of it, because I've been watching a lot of like bank lists and them like interviewing other people in the know about AI, and they're questioning is like, why is this protocol doing so well?
Mhm.
How are they making so much money?
Yeah.
It's like people don't even really understand yet. And these are people who know like the industry very well. It's
Yeah.
like why virtuals is
Right.
doing so well.
Right.
And it's
It's the combination. So I think we watched the same interview. Man, I forget the guy's name, but they asked him, what do you think is, crypto? Like, what is it good for? Like, what's the point of it?
yeah.
And he says that there's two product market fits. It is community, and it is it's the alignment of incentives.
Well, I heard him say more like, or I heard somebody say that the two actual PMFs of crypto are borderless transactions
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
and just speculation.
Speculation.
basically.
Correct.
Like,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Like clearly, crypto's good for speculation.
Yeah. For sure.
It's every single cycle
Yeah.
we introduce a new wave of speculation.
That's right.
So that's like ingrained. It's consistent. Just like every single cycle, we're able to.
Yeah, we were able to identify the speculative vehicles, right? We have ICOs, IDOs, and NFTs,
Right.
and now we have AI agents and memes, I guess.
Well, just but specifically. So why is the like vehicle of speculation like? How does that?
How do you cater to? How do you design your product to be speculative so that it matches a product market fit?
Yeah.
And then how do you actually like move the ball forward in terms of building something of infrastructure?
Yeah, so AI 16Z, I guess, is like
Yeah.
a representation of that, right? Because there's rampant speculation around the token itself, which is like
Right.
on its way to billions. It's like it's being priced as a legitimate infrastructure play within the crypto space, but at the other end of that, it's attracting the right developers, the right open source contributors to build out like a very powerful framework that is obviously being heavily used, right? So
Yeah.
that's a net positive, I think, for the entire industry. Right?
Yeah.
So if you can like understand that model and like apply it through like such a broad spectrum of different applications, like it feels like we're actually getting somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
speculation has like, again, like a net positive, other than just number go up and people's, wallet balances go up. The value output of that is really what we're looking to achieve, right? Like, you can apply this in the context of the metaverse. What would happen if there's like an AI 16Z type of framework or ELIZA type of framework for the development of the metaverse that anybody can contribute to,
Right.
has this DAO component. So like everybody's aligned to build out the right infrastructure for people to construct the metaverse, right? Like, what happens then? Well, we're going to see like such a pace of acceleration of growth in the metaverse sector, right? So these things don't really exist, is my point.
Yeah, and I think, there's a component to AI that's like so novel to like developers and creators that they want to contribute to something that's like brand new.
That's true.
Right? The metaverse.
There's like a punk spirit, like a cypherpunk spirit among like the AI community. Yeah, I agree. That's true.
Yeah, it's something that developers haven't had to play with like as of 2 years ago, like at least the retail developers. And so now retail developers, they have access to these tools and they're coming up with, the spectrum of things. And some AI agents are useful and others are not. They're there for entertainment. But, I think in another podcast, man, I was like all day like researching this stuff. But in another one, they asked us like, let's say you're 20, 25, and you're like, what do I do with my life? What am I supposed to do if like, we got AI, we got automation, all this stuff, like, what do I do? I was like, well, you should continue investing, but invest in entertainment, right? Because that's going to be our only vehicle of like exponential progress or exponential growth, just because humans won't have much to do.
What does that mean though? Invest in entertainment.
Invest like in
Netflix.
Well, yeah, anything that has entertainment and speculative like combined, that's what you invest in. So like Netflix would be a good one.
But you mean like the stock, like invest in like Netflix stock.
Yeah, don't invest in like having multiple Netflix accounts.
Yeah,
you're not gonna be like 3 times entertained with multiple subscriptions.
Right. Yeah, so literally allocate your predictions of the futures. Like the value will be in the entertainment sector of any kind. So like gaming.
Exactly. Metaverse. Yeah, stuff like that.
Interesting.
I mean, outside of like pure tech, like fusion and AI and like decentralized technology, things like that.
Okay.
Like entertainment is going to be one of the high growth sectors.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Which is weird, dude. We're literally like collectively understanding that we're running out of stuff to do.
Well, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't think anybody's really understanding that at all.
No. Well, yeah. I guess the people being interviewed, they're in the know, and so they're making that conclusion.
Yeah.
Right. And they're making that conclusion way before retail understands that that's happening. Last week we got a protest for better pay and better conditions at a like shipping distribution center.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, but we talked about last week too. Like even the agents or this AI in general will outproduce like from an entertainment perspective. Also, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Somebody Shaw, the head at AI 16Z said somebody's working on like an OnlyFans integration into like ELIZA or something like that. So essentially, somebody believes like
no, they're right. I mean, I think in Japan that is like a sector.
Yeah, it's like these waifus, right?
Yeah.
So it's like these waifus with a very advanced grade of intelligence.
Well, interactability.
Yeah, well, yeah. In today's version, it probably won't be like as good as you would want it to be. Like comparatively to like I guess like a top subscribed OnlyFans model, right?
Yeah, I think right now the there is that happening, but it's like a human behind the avatar.
Yeah,
that's doing it. And so imagine that where there's no humans involved. All of a sudden, you have like a different form of an economy.
Yeah, I could see that. It's more. I don't know. Maybe it's more dynamic in this sense because, like you're saying, you can have infinite variations and versions of this.
Well, it's one that talks back to you.
Well, I mean, humans talk back too.
Well, but Yeah, I guess, but not. I don't know. I'm not a subscriber.
You're not a
So
frequent, you're not
I
a
don't know.
frequenter of OnlyFans, dude.
Yeah, I don't know if you like ask a question, like you get a response. I would assume not always. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it functions like Twitch. Like if you're a Twitch streamer and you have like thousands of people like watching, and then obviously you can't respond to like
Yeah.
a feed that's like
Yeah, correct.
you just say chat, and then
Yeah.
you make like blanket statements to all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to, I guess an AI would have the contextual awareness of every single message it's receiving, and then
Yeah,
it
well,
could-
not only that, the AI would respond to every message 24/7, right?
Yeah.
A human couldn't do that even if they wanted to.
right. So the point being, it's like we're not even safe in that arena either, from like an entertainer perspective. You know?
Yeah. Dude, yeah, especially like, you can craft this avatar however you want, and yeah, it's literally over.
It's over, but it's not. Like so this is going to be like the rampant speculation this cycle. I think it's like just like last cycle around DeFi, it's like, you see Aave like hit the market, and it's like,
Yeah.
wow, people are actually collateralizing their assets, and they're
Yeah.
lending and borrowing. Banks are cooked. Like
Yeah.
the next year, it's like JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon are gonna be like, I guess we lost.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, that didn't happen, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Reality kind of recirculated back to like base point. Is like, okay, yeah, these things introduced the glimmers of possibility,
Yeah.
but also like so many vectors of unsustainability around them, and like non-practical usage, then like regulatory barriers and
Yeah.
all this new shit, right? So that's like bear market FUD.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
So we're gonna see that with the AI space too, where it's like, yeah, agent to agent, agent to human commerce.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, a fucking Amazon's cooked. It's like, or like all of capitalism is cooked. Like
Right,
people
right.
are gonna like really,
They're gonna push that narrative, but then they're gonna realize it really.
yeah, we got
gotta-
a lot more stuff to do, guys.
yeah, that's right,
To
yeah.
make this actually work at scale.
Yeah.
That's really typically what happens in this like crypto arena, right? Where like rampant speculation ensues.
Yeah. I
That's
guess
just like legitimizes like the market. That's all it does.
AI in the retail form is about 2 years old, and I think when people say like it's all over, I don't think they mean it's over like next year. It's more like we really need to start thinking about the labor economy. Like we need to like rethink that, because cars are driving themselves. That's
Yeah.
like 20% of the workforce.
Yeah.
What happens to that 20% when AI is like prolific?
Yeah.
That's how we're cooked, right? We haven't even asked the question.
Yeah, but the thing I'm most interested in is can this AI, I guess the infrastructure that gets put in place and the actual applications developed around it, like can we get to a point where there is a sense of, I guess, sustainability, in a sense where we no longer rely on like retail human bodies every single 4-year period. Is like, we're waiting for the signals of retail coming into the market, right? Therefore we're all bullish at that point.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting dynamic, because all of a sudden, we're waiting for retail. That's like hundreds of millions of people, but we're gonna have like billions of AI
Well, obviously,
participants.
Yeah, so the agents are going to get probably destroyed during the bear market, like, because they're going to be looking for ways to continue making money.
That's true. All humans hold all the capital, right? So they're going to tweet and design ways to like extract that capital, but at certain points, people wise up and they're like, no.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's just it's going to be so weird. Like we're absolutely going to give the keys this cycle to like the AI agents. Meaning like they're going to be the ones launching projects. They're going to be the ones issuing the tokens. They're going to be the ones creating the NFTs. They're going to be the ones building out their own like metaverse experiences and stuff. And essentially us humans are the speculators in their creation at that point.
That's right.
That's what's going to really happen. That's, because why? Because that's a new dynamic that we've never experienced before. So it has that sexy allure.
Yeah.
Again, the blue skies is like, dude, It's like we've actually created like an economy of AGI participants, and valuations are gonna balloon beyond our expectation.
Yeah.
But yeah, quickly, once that dries up, then it's like the most not sustainable thing,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. That's true. I mean, once we get to that point where, AI starts fleecing mass retail,
Yeah.
that's when that's probably the top.
Yeah.
Where AI is producing like all the speculative assets,
Hmm.
and like that's, I don't know how you're going to be able to determine that a top signal in that scenario, but maybe when there's like all the PFPs that you see, they came from this AI, this PFP came from that AI, and then that's like, all right, we're done here.
Yeah. Me personally, I'm waiting to see like, all the major corporate heads, like once they all have their own agent Twitter, like basically Twitter is just nothing but AI agents. Like
Yeah.
everybody's corporate accounts, everybody, all their marketing interns get laid off.
Yeah.
They get replaced by Eliza or like virtuals bots.
Right.
Right. And they just have the contextual understanding of like this corporate entity. And like the tweets are just being blasted out all day long. Yeah. And then they start saying things like, remember last cycle during the NFT boom? It's like, whack me,
Yeah.
It's like Facebook was communicating to like Pepsi on Twitter. It's like,
Yeah.
we're going to make it, friends.
Right.
That was the top.
Yeah.
To me, it's like AI agents of like major corporations talking to each other. It's like, we're coming to dominate. It's like, it's over, dude.
Yeah.
Pull out.
There was another interview I listened to where these guys were training an AI, and it didn't like that it was being trained. And not only did it didn't like it, but it faked as if it were being trained, and it basically lied to the engineers that it got trained, so that it didn't have to necessarily follow that guideline.
Wow.
And I don't
That's
know how
crazy.
they were able to determine that, but they did determine it. And now that we're talking about an AI potential here, where it can really fake people out, especially the engineers. And
Jesus.
so I don't know what the motivation is, and I think it came from like the large language models. Like we've created this dialogue on the internet for so many years that it's able to grasp these nuances in human communication, where lying has benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not that it's self-aware, it's just using that technique
Right, yeah.
in a language.
Yeah, it's like you see this actively with like Luna's like back-end terminal or whatever, where it's like its job is to just push out as many tweets as possible,
Right.
in a different variety of like flavors and whatever. Right? Let's just test. Or these are all trial balloons to see which of these actually attract engagement or not. And it's like on the back end, you can actually see it. It's like, well, this tweet didn't do so well.
Yeah.
The engagement metrics are down like 60% compared to everything else I've tweeted. And it's, here's the underlying, like, I guess, like tags of reasoning as to like maybe why it didn't do so well. So here's the next tweet to try and blah, blah, blah. So this is all like contextual memory that it's building over time. And reasoning around like, optimizing the right tweets, the right communication strategy to achieve its goal, which is to be a top influencer, right?
Yeah, I think self-correction is going to be like a critical component to AI, but there's no AI that can just produce banger tweets 100% of the time. Like that
No.
doesn't exist, because banger tweets are contextual, meaning like if there are no nukes going off, then maybe this tweet has a chance. But if a nuke goes off and you're tweeting about like the metaverse, that's not going to get any engagement.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, it needs to be aware of like the humanity sentiment in the context of things.
For now, I think like over time this plays out, it becomes I think the sentiment creator, like
Yeah.
Just introducing like new thought.
Damn, that, well,
I mean that's
what, kind of, it's already happening right there. AI is contributing to like the progress of science. And so I don't know if it can just like contextualize a thought like that or just help make progress, but yeah, I mean, eventually it could contribute to the sentiment.
Oh, absolutely. I think it will. Like I said, I think that's going to be one of the biggest, I think, shocking takeaways after this next year's like running out this experiment, just observing how fickle we are as human beings,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
surrendering our own like free will of thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, we already know this happens, right? Like, I don't know, like we just demonstrated how people are so quickly willing to just strip themselves of their mental faculties just
Yeah.
to support like this cult meme coin, right? That nobody knows who created it.
Yeah,
And
I think it's easier, right? I think it's just easier to believe in something
and surrender.
yeah, just like not require yourself to be so critical about everything. I think it gets fatiguing.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you just kind of give up and be like, well, I'm just going to go all in on this thing. And
Yeah. So then what more to just give yourself up to than like this much more superior intelligent
oh
force?
yeah, if you're going to give
Give
yourself up,
to something.
you're going to, the best thing you could do is give yourself up to like a super intelligence.
Right. Well, I think that's what's going to happen. And like this crypto market's going to be, how we always like to say, like, if you're like a sociology or psychology like study, like if that's your study, your realm of intrigue, you should be always paying attention to this market because it's like the most fascinating display of like human behavior
you get
studies and
a
stuff.
ton of data with a lot of speed.
Yeah, you get to observe some of the most like I don't know, like
The full spectrum.
Yeah, the shocking elements of like the human condition essentially, because like things are like so on display, like in context of these markets, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you go look at the Pump.Fun phase where people were live streaming, they were hurting children, potentially, committing suicide,
mass
shootings, just to pump the value of a token, right? To get rich.
Yeah.
Right. So imagine a society where money is not a factor anymore. Like we're talking about, just complete abundance.
Yeah.
How, could you even like conceive of like a live stream, like where they contemplate these things? Like, what are you pumping now at this point? Right. You can't.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of like, where we're headed kind of naturally.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was, how much time do we have, TG? Like 20 minutes or something?
Yeah, we got about 15.
Okay. Yeah. I figured, let's kind of like,
let's go back to business, dude.
Yeah. We don't have that much time. It's fucking AI, dude. It really does. It's a mind suck for sure.
It really is.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting.
Yeah. But let's address like, some of the things again, that's been on our mind in regards to, 2024, well, really, DMT was introduced 2023, very late stages of 2023, but 2024 was really the year that it actually took off and like, formed its own legs to stand on, in context of like how the Bitcoin ecosystem has evolved over the last year. I mean, it's definitely complicated, right? Now that we're kind of expanding our scope of observation to like the broader ecosystem, I'm noticing some like dangerous non-parallels, I guess you could say, between like what we've seen manifest in the Bitcoin space and like what's manifesting like in the AI agent space is like mass collaboration at like a wide scale happening there, and like mass non-collaboration, bifurcation, toxic opposition. Like it's the complete opposite like ethos like in the Bitcoin space as to what we're seeing in the AI agent space, like competing frameworks forming collaboration, elements of cohesion and alignment and stuff. Because, I don't know if it's because the underlying, well, it's not even the underlying frame. They're like on separate chains and stuff.
Do you see AI 16Z as is sort of like the biggest influencer in the world, right? AI 16Z or A16Z, I should say.
Like the actual,
just the entity of itself, it influences the entire planet because they're their biggest investor in the world, right?
Yeah, I think like whenever they put out like their, essentially like they've done recently, like here's what we're focused on next year.
Yeah.
Like reports like that, I feel like, the market
moves mountains.
The market tends to just essentially follow suit.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like 2019, 2020, they're like, we're really focused on crypto, and their hands was like literally on every pot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're saying in 2025, it's all mostly about AI and AI agents and stuff. So
yeah, all I'm saying is that they're a big influencer. So it isn't that crazy of a surprise that they built this this mass contribution technology that, with large language models, like they're very centralized. And so you could just tap into that large language model using with these different AI components that can be integrated, and because it's open source and it's A16Z, it's like it's almost obvious for devs that are interested to kind of leverage it. And I don't think there's that lightning rod in the Bitcoin ecosystem, really.
Well, the lightning rod was Ordinals, right?
Yeah,
That
and
was-
we saw a lot of action, but there wasn't a
Yeah.
whole lot of contribution. There wasn't a whole lot of alignment. It was just more like
Yeah, that's what I mean. These are the shocking like non-parallels
differences.
that
Yeah.
I'm seeing, and like it's an underlying problem, like rooted in the culture itself. And I don't know, like it happened in real time for us, so it's like hard to like point to like the actual inflection moments where things just
Yeah.
fell apart essentially.
So kind of to add to what you're saying, I mean, Elon and Casey, right? They had a falling out,
Yeah,
and Elon is a big contributor to the Ord protocol.
correct. Yeah.
And I don't know, Casey's just like I don't really don't understand it. I haven't really looked into it, but Casey's essentially ignoring what Elon is saying.
Allegedly. Yeah, apparently there's this proposal. So like that's really what it is. It's the mechanism of like actually contributing. Like there isn't like a set up infrastructure for this. It's like all we have is like, put out a message on some forum board on GitHub
and then hope it gets,
cross your fingers, dude. Hopefully Casey sees the light.
Yeah, and Casey, he did a tweet recently whether he was asking everybody whether or not he should bully like one of the top 3 contributors.
Bully? What is that? What is it? Why? Just
I don't know. It was like a yes or no question. It was like, should I bully him?
I see.
That was it. It's like that's not very conducive to like progress, right?
Yeah. What is the thought behind that, dude? It's just
I don't know.
Yeah, it's more so clearly there's a disconnect between like the contributors of the ecosystem and like the protocol that you're maintaining, right? So it's like effort should be more so centered around connecting the groups together, right?
Yeah.
In whatever means or fashion, like that needs to be our. But that's the issue is because Casey's alignment isn't 100% in like
I mean
figuring out these types of the crux of these types of issues, right?
Yeah, when you create a protocol and you have like a vision for your protocol and you build it out and you release it to the public and the public has a different vision of that protocol.
Yeah.
That might align the market with your protocol a little bit more.
Right.
I feel like as a protocol creator, you should sort of cater to that and allow that to happen.
Yeah. I mean, so this goes across the board. There's tons of protocols, including DMT ourselves.
Right.
And so this same disconnect probably exists as well.
Yeah.
Other people have different interpretations, how things should be done. There's no way to actually like formally bring that up in context of like how the protocol actually develops forward.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a core issue across the entire like ecosystem in context of Bitcoin, right? Because we're talking governance and we're talking DAOs, which there is no infrastructure for this stuff.
Yeah.
Currently in the meta protocol space, in the arena of that. Now that is like a very ingrained mechanistic part of building out like on EVM, execution environments. Essentially, that was what all of last cycle was about, was introducing this new vector of community participation into the growth of an ecosystem, right? So, AI 16Z started out as a DAO, right?
Mm-hmm.
The vectors of that exists, I think. So I think that's why like these developers, these communities are much more like naturally aligned to build out into that direction where there's more community contribution.
Yeah.
Along the way.
Congruency.
There you go. Yeah. So the result of that is, this Bitcoin ecosystem, man, it's very toxic. It's like too competitive. It's the wrong type of competitiveness in a sense.
Yeah.
Like these AI agent frameworks, they're competitive too, right? They're developing their own ways to
There's
deploy.
There's like 1,500 forks of AI 16Zs,
right?
Like GitHub.
Yeah. So Zerebro, they just released ZeroPi, their own agent framework. Virtuals has their own.
Yeah.
But all these guys, they're collaborating, right? Because they understand this is like a network of momentum that they're all kind of like contributing towards.
Yeah, you never want to build a protocol where you're the only one talking about your protocol.
Yeah.
Right. So, or even the idea of it, like if we have Zerbro and virtuals, they're talking about AI frameworks
Mm-hmm.
that other devs can leverage who may not know a lot about AI. You have two different groups are competing with each other, both saying the same thing. That means that they are grabbing market share
Mm-hmm.
and thereby increasing the pie.
Right.
Right. And that's what you want. You want to increase a pie. You don't want to like fight for a small piece of pie, right? So you want to make the pie bigger.
100%. Yeah. So I think that's something that all of us who are developing in this Bitcoin ecosystem need to kind of like, I don't know, have more serious discussions, the communities that are interested in like actually seeing the ecosystem grow. Like we need that alignment to understand like there is one single pie here, really.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like everybody's just trying to like chomp away at like the tiniest of pie, right?
Yeah, the crumbs. Yeah.
Yeah. So figuring out like ecosystem alignment among like contributors is a big deal, a big problem, right?
Yeah.
So I got a list here. I don't know if you want to like go through all of them. But
Yeah, let's do
this
it.
is more like in context of like what we want to do, right? So one of the things we've been talking about on the Twitter Spaces is the whole wallet rendering issue.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
you introduced that as like, you know, we at some point we want to update the protocol, right?
Yeah.
To support that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So we were talking about ELOC and Casey. So ELOC contributed something to the ORD protocol called undelegated content. And to make a long story short, it is very similar to how UNATs are being rendered into, just when you see a NatCat, it has a very specific way to render. And it's what we call recursive rendering. And so essentially that's being supported by the ORD client.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? That means that when you mint a new UNAT that's following the standard of this process, you'll be able to see that UNAT inside your wallet, as long as a wallet is running the latest ORD client.
Yeah.
And which this is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Right? Because it seems like the way that we're rendering UNATs today is being supported by the ORD client.
Yeah. And it's just improving the UI UX overall, right? It's one of people are starting to understand this, right? It's the market really enjoys like a good experience. It's shocking, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's one of the things. It's like that. The founder of Virtuals is saying in his podcast and stuff. It's like, believe it or not, it's like we focused on building a product that people would actually want to use, and like in the context of Web3, that's usually like on the back end of people's like concern. So
you know what? One thing that he said that was really smart that I didn't just put the two things together is that on Base, there is no Base token.
Yeah, correct.
Right. And so he saw an opportunity, was like, okay, well, I'll create a virtuals token and I'll pair virtuals tokens to all the AI agent tokens to virtuals.
Interesting.
So now you can leverage the Base blockchain as your own blockchain, right? Under your own protocol. And so now whenever AI agents are created, virtuals token is the one that aggregates that value instead of the Base token or ETH, for example.
I see. Yeah, so that creates that flywheel effect.
Yeah,
that everybody's talking about.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's a good like tokenomics structure for sure.
And
right?
yeah. I mean, I was gonna say that for Bitcoin, but I mean, you got Bitcoin.
Yeah. Okay, so figuring out the UI UX is obviously a big deal because, as cool as DMT is, as cool as creating UNATs are, the experience of that is a big concern, right? Because one of the things that we want to really hone in on is the viability of creation, specifically in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Something that we're observing in comparison of like what we saw with Pumped Out Fun and now with Virtuals.
Right.
It's like what's really happening there is like these very well-established viability mechanisms, right? Like getting the idea from ideation, a conceptual stage, to like before bringing it to like a matured version within the market. There's that bonding curve stage where essentially you're creating a market of testers for viability of a product.
Correct. Yeah.
That's what we see Pumped Out Fun is. It's like, because there's like 10,000 deployments a day maybe like 100 actually make it to the viability arena, which is essentially the DEX environment, right?
Yeah, and even 2 or 3 of those like actually
Turn into something.
something. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's like that's important because with that, it broadens the spectrum of participation to a much more significant base of people that aren't limited to essentially the major friction of tokenizing creation, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to, in context of the Bitcoin ecosystem, like NAT, our predicament with the NAT token itself, we created a very interesting token in the Bitcoin space, right? It has a very, very purposed utility in providing like a new subsidy to Bitcoin, all this stuff, right? It's leveraging DMT as a framework. These are a lot of new innovations and stuff, but it's dealing with the issue of a non-viable ecosystem, right? Meaning we've got to aggregate millions of dollars of liquidity just to get it through like a gauntlet of centralized pathway for market viability.
Correct.
That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Almost nobody could do this.
Yeah, it's not reproducible.
Yeah, which is the biggest of problems, right? If we're going to build protocols and ecosystems where the purpose is for people to create.
Correct.
The purpose of DMT is to create leveraging the substrate layer of Bitcoin.
And you want to be able to create with low friction. And so what that means is you want to be able to test your assumptions. Like, I'm going to create this application, this meta for the metaverse. Is anyone going to care about it? Well, launch the thing.
Right.
Just launch the token. And then using this viability test, you could test the market to see if they're interested in this thing. If it reaches that threshold, then it's viable.
Right.
And then everyone who purchased that asset will get the meta or the NFTs and alongside with the fungible token.
Yeah, so there's a lot we need to break down as far as like how we're architecting and this I guess this model we want to introduce, because it satisfies a lot of pain points, right? Like we're saying, the inefficiencies of the market itself, specific to Bitcoin, right? If we were building all of our DMT infrastructure on like Solana or Base, I don't think we'd be dealing with this much friction on the creator end of things, right? Like, there's more vectors there of introducing these DMT products into like a viable space. But in the context of Bitcoin, we have a huge advantage because we're developing on tap.
Yeah.
So we can introduce some of these new dynamic flexibilities that essentially replicate what's happening on other chains in context of the Bitcoin ecosystem. So we're going to really lean into that as much as we can to like bring this into existence, right? For the hopium, the product of that is, again, where the substrate layer is actually being utilized to its maximum potential to do what you're saying, test your assumptions, bring your concepts to market. You think AI agents are better, like in the context of like a non-arbitrary creation base?
Yeah.
I think they will be at some point. I think if somebody successfully rolls out these agents that, have these dependencies on on-chain data patterns that correlate to, its specific individualistic persona, I guess, in some way, shape, or fashion.
It's not that crazy. Our life forms depend on their DNA.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So what better substrate to associate the genetic makeup of some artificial life form than to root that to something as non-arbitrary as Bitcoin, and the immutable data layer itself. So these are vectors of experimentation that need to occur. But again, it's like if you bring these into a non-viable
environment,
it's like they never have.
They don't have the momentum to actually reach like velocity that's needed to like get access to the market.
Correct. Yeah, and then there's like other facets of creator sustainability, right? Because the last thing you want to do is introduce like these types of dynamics to the market, but not align the right incentives for long-term sustained growth. Meaning like all you're bringing is like, rug potential, essentially. Like the incentives of the existing like pumped out fund, you're only incentivized to like launch and deploy things, right? Meaning like see them like do well at the initial stage of like a product to market. You don't really have like much of an incentive to.
Yeah, let me explain what's happening on Pumped Out Fund. If you go watch it, you see a lot of the tokens that get launched. A lot of times they reach like 50% threshold, and what happens is these bots, they purchase the first half of the curve, and then when it piques attention from people, right? Then it goes beyond that first half, and then they arbitrage the difference, and they just sell the tokens that they have on that bonding curve, and they make profit.
Yeah.
And so they have bots like continuously doing that. And so we want to figure out a way to incentivize the participation of users and incentivize reaching that threshold, because when that happens, every participant benefits, the creators benefit, and it's a better ecosystem if it's all aligned.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so I think over the next coming weeks or so, maybe we'll kind of like dive deeper into all this stuff. And with that comes like what we really need to get better at is documentation and all this stuff for
Yeah.
our existing.
Yeah, there's another tweet I saw that the second biggest pain point for developers is lack of documentation or
Yeah.
improper documentation.
Yeah, I think AI agents will help solve that pretty
Yeah,
quick.
that's so true. Yeah.
I would imagine like that's something that can be quickly like
Yeah, at least generate it and then edit it is better than like starting from scratch.
yeah, I agree. What else? Anything on the top of your head that you could like? So, what are your expectations for next year? Let me just ask you that. Like,
Expectations. Damn, dude. That's
Do you have
a
any?
crazy question.
well,
Expectations.
based on the events that unfolded this year, like, were you expecting these things to happen? I guess end of 2023, right? Let's go back to that. What was happening then?
End of 2023.
Yeah,
Man, I don't know if I expected any of this stuff to happen. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know if I ever like formed that thought. I was just more about seeing like what's the next step that we need to take,
That's interesting.
and maybe that's like a bad move.
Well, it's well,
So
happy accidents tend to happen, right? Like again, like Nat Cats was a
Nat Cats,
happy
yeah, 100%.
happy accident. We did
And-
not
and-
expect that
Correct. There's no way.
at all.
There's no way we
Well,
could have expected.
We knew
it
like,
could happen, but like
We knew in developing the framework, it's like
it's possible. We knew it was possible.
yeah, we were just like, let's not like focus on
Yeah.
that side of the formulation of digital materialization.
Yeah.
Let's focus on like the fungible aspect. But this is the superpower of community contribution, right? Somebody like
Yeah.
EV can just step up and like figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's no way we could have figured that. We expected that outcome.
Okay, well that's good. That means something unexpected is coming next year. Something that we don't foresee, most likely.
Yeah, but I feel like we got to continue innovating.
Well, absolutely.
And solving these problems that you outlined.
Yeah, this is just the start of it, but I think these are like not obvious problems. I think they're becoming obvious. People are seeing it across the entire landscape of the Bitcoin ecosystem. Even Runes is like
Yeah, it's over for Runes.
well, it's perpetually like stagnant, and BRC20s is like when is that going to develop further?
No, it's not.
Right. So it's like these major pain points are the inviability of like these token environments to begin with.
Fractal. There's tweets and Fractals like it's dead already.
Right. So sentiment is like at all-time lows. So this is
Yeah.
the ripe stage of like where innovation needs to emerge.
I wanted to bring this up. So if we go to 2023 and all of 2023, we were searching for the new thing, right? And we found ordinals, right?
Yeah.
But AI has taken over everything, like in the sense of like we think that that's going to be like the main focus.
Yeah.
So I think one of, I guess my personal challenge, and then for the team as well, is like how do we integrate AI into what we're doing
In all facets.
in all facets, like not only like in the back end where we use AI to like make our day-to-day jobs easier, but also like as a product level.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think that's the reality of like just moving forward.
Yeah.
It's like just like you can't build a business without the internet. At some point in time, like that became the reality.
That's true.
That's like foolish to
Yeah.
try and build a business without the utilization of the internet for something that's going to enhance like or make things more efficient for you as a business.
Yeah, or a business that doesn't have a Twitter account.
Right. Yeah, so moving forward, considering, we have a marketplace of creation and stuff like, these AI tools need to be leveraged some way, some shape, somehow
Yeah.
to, again, like just put these tools in the hands of the users for them to
Yeah.
take advantage of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So part of this is like the development of the Matrix and Bitmap OS and combining AI with all that because, I've used AI to build all kinds of stuff. It could do code and it could do code probably better than like writing out English.
Right.
And I saw another podcast. I don't know if I mentioned it, but they were saying that the English language is going to be the dominant form of programming language in 2025.
I'm glad I speak that
you
language.
speak English, man.
I'm glad
you can code.
I paid attention to English class, dude.
Yeah.
It's finally coming in handy.
Finally.
Hell yeah, dude.
So, I mean, that implication is huge. I mean, all of us who are building in the Matrix, all of a sudden we can just like code.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, so we need to contribute on that end for sure, right?
Yeah.
Is again enabling people with this like these new superpowers as effectively as we can do it, essentially.
Yeah.
And just becomes a permanent like part of the expected experience, I guess, of like being part of this ecosystem, right? I own land, I own a bitmap, I own parcels, right? Like the assumption is, I'm going to be putting these to use for something, right?
Yeah,
Whether
correct.
it's me individually, like translating my English to code, which now produces some sort of like actual digital good
Mm-hmm.
that serves, whether it's for my own personal use case or like now I'm contributing into something broader, like everybody's speaking the same language, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, we're all producing like content that has that cohesiveness among it, whatever, right? Just and then or it's these assets that I own. It's just hosting grounds for agents to do their own thing.
Yeah.
In the metaverse.
Yeah.
Where they could also essentially replicate what we do.
Yeah. I mean, AI is going to be a very important thing that we're going to be integrating. And there's no question that every single business out there is going to be doing the same thing. So if you're not doing that, you're going to fall behind faster than you've ever fallen behind in the history of time.
Yeah, I'm excited, dude. I'm excited to see agents. So I think that's what we need to do also is like assume that the agents like within the next year, their main motivation and task is going to be to figure out these vectors of participation. Like ultimately their only internal goal is to see their wallet balances go up, right? Meaning like either it's through like producing content or like just speculating on markets.
I feel like
such.
we're going to have an AI agent that's going to be a billionaire. And there's going to be like a concentrated effort of other AI agents and humanity banging that AI agent to like fleece it somehow.
Well, just for it to become interested, because whoever that $1 billion agent is becomes the mover of the market, right? It's like the AI agents out there is like he's made $1 billion just expertly navigating the waters of Web3, right?
Yeah.
And understanding like where all the opportunity is, being early to that, masterfully executing on like
every
positioning.
day we're going to be sending it messages on Twitter. It's like, look at DMT.
Well, it's more so like building the right like infrastructure, the right I don't know, like just the right playground essentially for it to identify that as an opportunity.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And to like bring interest and to participate. And it's like, you know what? I should like, these mScribe guys, they built a nice little viable token creation ecosystem in the context of the metaverse. So we hear, it's on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And they're introducing this new DMT thing. It's like, so it's a new class of assets. So already it's like deducing.
It's like opportunity
and speculation around that, right? It's like, okay, so all I need to do is like, they have this documentation called contextual understanding of MML. So like now I understand how to actually create this content for the bitmap ecosystem. So what I should do is, start making content, start making metas.
Yeah, that's right.
I could do that.
Yeah,
as an agent, and so I'm going to make a bunch of these things. People are going to think is really cool.
You know what the metaverse needs? It needs a DEX
as a meta. Yeah.
And it needs like all these like primitives that are missing in the metaverse. They'll just start making them. And then people are like, you know what? I do need that. I'm going to purchase that.
Right. Yeah. But it won't be able to do that without like, again,
without the proper setup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like that I think is what's going to be everybody's like goal is to like set up the right like environment for these agents just to come in and partake.
Yeah.
And to accelerate the growth of these things, right? And
it's true, dude.
That's
I think that's
really
a good way of putting it. Like basically setting up the environment for the AIs to partake and proliferate the content.
Yeah, proliferate and just all facets of participation, right? You need the creators.
Yeah.
You need the degens essentially who see value in this and want to seize that opportunity of the market.
Yeah.
Like agents can fulfill every single one of these roles, right? And then you got the agents on Twitter, like their only role is to be the KOLs, the influencer types.
That's right.
Essentially reporting on the fact that these things are happening.
Yeah. The billionaire AI would pay the AI KOLs
to
talk about DMT and MML and all that stuff. And
it's like upcoming meta launch.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. Imagine that. So if that's what happens by the end of next year, yeah, we were spot on, dude.
Yeah.
We called it.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty easy call.
I don't know.
I mean, as long as we do our job, it's going to be pretty easy.
Correct. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, dude. Maybe we're actually like literally at a crossroads. Like it doesn't feel like it yet.
I think I feel it.
You do feel it?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't feel it yet until I see all that, where it's like literally we get outsmarted in the own market that we built.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, we're at some point of no return. For sure. Like it's actually fucking over.
We're definitely going to get outsmarted, dude.
Oh my God.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, I'm here for it, dude. I'm here for it.
We got front row seats.
Yeah, this is going to be cool.
All right, guys. That's it for us. Happy New Year for everyone. Stay safe.
Yeah. And Merry Christmas.
Yeah. And Merry Christmas. Hopefully you guys had a safe Christmas.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to be back next year.
For sure. To observe all of this, dude.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the weirdest year of crypto yet.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Stay tuned, guys. It's
gonna be... man. We got Trump talking about Bitcoin like every day.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing. Yeah. Trump will be in office, essentially. And Elon. Oh, it's not Trump, by the way.
Yeah.
Elon's the actual president.
Yeah.
According to like, the left.
Twitter. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, like they're trying to like create like a war of egos among Trump and Elon.
Yeah.
Just by like associating, it's like it's not a Trump presidency, it's an Elon.
Yeah.
Just hopefully like Trump gets like, earthed by that, and he like kicks him off the board. He's like, no, I'm president.
Yeah, I find this Trump and Elon dynamic interesting because back when Trump was president, Trump asked Elon to be part of his like crew, and Elon was like he like peeked into it. And he was like no, because Trump was like crazy,
right?
And now they're like best friends.
Well, let's see how that plays out too, dude.
Yeah,
like I said, we're at a weird crossroads for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you have any questions on AI, if you guys discovered any AI projects that you want us to look into, definitely let us know in the comment section below. I appreciate you for watching, and we will catch you in the next podcast.
Peace.